Hi guys, Kaze here. Welcome back. We're back with Hakuoki. We'll say the amazing Shinsengumi. Not exactly correct. It's Hakuoki, but it does have the Shinsengumi, so that's good. We're on Hijikata's route, and we're about to start chapter 4 within the game, which would make this episode 13, I do believe, for us. We have a lot of episodes, so I chopped them up, and since it's chapter 4 has no subsections. I have no idea how long this will be. Like, I don't know how long the chapters are now, because from this point on, there's no chapters. So hopefully they're not too terribly long, but I hope we get a good enough story. So let us go. And if this is a really long video, I apologize. And I'm going to assume after this one, whatever the length of this video turns out to be, will be how long the others one will be as well. So I might try and chop them up later. You might get this one chopped up if I realize it's like a 2-hour video and be like, yeah, I'm crazy. Alright, anyway, let's get going. Oh, this is apparently not yet. I thought I did it. I thought I caught up. Alright, there we go. Now we're going to start chapter 4. Chapter 4. December 1867. Still the same year. With the new year just around the corner, the Satsuma Chosu Alliance formed an army and marched on the capital. That doesn't sound good. In response, the Shinsengumi moved to the Fushimi magistrate's office and began to prepare for war.
Oi, 大変だ! 近藤局長が何者かに狙撃されたぞ!
Hey, bad news, guys. The chief's been attacked. There have been no witnesses and the culprit has escaped unseen. Their motives could only be guessed at.
局長を襲った刺客の正体はまだつかめないのか?
We still haven't figured out who attacked the chief?
どうせ薩長の連中に決まってるぜ。卑怯な真似を。
I'll bet you anything it's those bastards from the Satsuma Chosu Alliance. Ever since the attack on Kondo, the atmosphere of the Fushimi magistrate's office had been tense, to say the least. I felt it increase as I stepped into the meeting room carrying tea for the captains. Here's your tea.
お、ありがとうな。そこに置いといてくれ。
I seemed to have walked in on a very serious discussion. All the room were tense, drawn faces.
で、今後どうするつもりなんだ?
So, what's your plan?
薩長の連中は政権返上だけじゃ飽き足らず、幕府の持ってる領土も何もかも返せって言ってやがるんだろ?
The Satsuma Chosu Alliance wants power in the court, but they're also looking to have the emperor grant them all of the shogunate's assets and holdings.
どう考えても戦争を始める気満々だ。今のうちに戦う準備を進めておくに越したことはねえ。
There's no other way to look at it. They're trying to start a war. It'd be smart to start preparing for one.
だろうな。奴ら、年若い天使様を担ぎ上げて、我が物顔で朝廷に出入りしてやがる。
You have a point. They've been sucking up to the emperor, and they come and go to the palace like they own the place.
ついこの間まで、朝敵として、京への出入りを禁じられてた連中のくせにな。
Wasn't it just the other day that they were declared enemies of the court and not even allowed into Kyoto?
で、そいつらとの戦争の準備をどうするかだが。
Now, so far as preparing for war, Hijikata's eyes darted from man to man across the room, looking for someone to speak out.
三男さんは羅刹隊の増強を強く主張しているようですが。
Sana has been pushing hard to argument the Fury Corps.
俺は反対だ。これからの戦は不逞浪士を取り締まってた頃とは違う。
I'm against that. This is a war, not subduing the odd Ronin.
敵味方入り乱れて戦う中で連中の手綱をうまく取れるとは思えねえ。戦力にはなるが危険すぎるぜ。
There are going to be enemies and allies everywhere in battle. I don't think we'll be able to control them. They're powerful, but it's too risky.
だな。何より人道的に見て問題があるだろ
Agreed. Besides, it's inhumane.
では他にどんな方法がある？異を唱えるなら代案を出すべきだ。
Then what do you suggest? If you wish to disprove, you should offer an alternate path.
だから俺らだって考えてんだろ。そんなすぐいい案が出たら苦労しねえよ。
We're working on that. If it was so easy to come up with a solution, you really think we'd be in this mess? He shot Saito a glare.
副長はどう思われます？
He had a fair argument. What's your take on this, Commander? Hijikata furrowed his brow and frowned.
とりあえずもう少し考えさせてくれ。薩長の出方を見なきゃ何とも言えねえし、幕府側の意向もあるからな。
Let me think about it. We need to see what the Satsuma and Shonsu are going to do, and we have to consider what the shogunate wants. Kondo's injury had put everyone on edge, even without a war inching closer day by day. I wondered how Heisuke and Sana felt about what was coming now that they were Furies. The Fury Corps were only active after I went to sleep, so I never got to see them. I wonder how that would go on if I was going for Heisuke's. I mean, like, yeah, I'm dating Heisuke. I never see him. When I couldn't fall asleep that night, I decided to go visit Okita, who was still trying to recover from his illness. How long have you been sick? Dear goodness. Good evening, Okita. How are you feeling? I arrived to find that Heisuke had also come to visit Okita to pass the time.
あれどうしたんだこんな夜遅くに。
You really don't look any different. I mean, neither does Sanan, but Sanan kind of scary now. I mean, he tried to cut me last time. It was just like, no. Oh, hey, Chizuru. What are you doing up so late?
若い女の子が夜中に男の部屋に来るなんて、あらぬ誤解を受けてもおかしくない状況だぞ。
People might get the wrong idea if they see a girl visiting a man's room in the middle of the night. Am I, like, wearing a girl kimono or something? Oh, Heisuke, you're smarter than that. You know Okita and I aren't, you know.
まあ確かにそうか。お前の場合、そういう色っぽい話にはとことん縁がなさそうだもんな。
Yeah, I guess you have a point. That's not really your sort of thing, is it? I don't think so. I would like to see an Otome game where that happens, just out of curiosity, but no, I don't think so. Hey, what do you mean?
どういう意味もこういう意味もな。
I don't have a dirty mind of a guy, just saying. What do you mean, what do you mean? Come on. He chuckled and tossed Okita what seemed to have been intended as a knowing grin, but the older man was far too annoyed to notice.
何か用事があったんじゃないの？じゃなきゃわざわざこんな夜中にここに来たりしないよね。
So, why are you here? I assume you got a reason for visiting me in the middle of the night? Oh, his tone stole away some of my determination, but I pushed ahead anyway. Do you guys know that, Sanan wants to argument the Fury Corps? As soon as the words were out of my mouth, Heisuke's face clouded over.
ああ、そりゃな。
Yeah, of course. I mean, he's in it. Okita was a little more forthcoming.
まあ、三男さんの立場だったらそう考えるのも無理はないんじゃない？
Well, if you were in Sanan's position, wouldn't you do the same thing?
僕だって体がこんなになってなかったらすぐ刀を取って近藤さんの仇を討ちに行ってると思うし。
If I wasn't like this, I'd pick up my sword right now and go get revenge for Kondo. Oh. Okita's bed rest was clearly rankling him. After all, he had known Kondo for a long time, since they had met in Edo, long before the beginning of the Shinsengumi. What do you think, Heisuke?
俺はそうだな。
Me? Well, Hmm.
落ち水を飲むって決めたのは俺だけど、この先どうなっちまうのか不安がないわけじゃないよ。
I did decide to drink the water of life, but I'm not gonna lie, I was worried about what would happen to me.
三男さんはもっともっと羅刹隊の人数を増やすべきだって言ってるけどな。そうしなきゃ勝てないって。
Sanan says we should have more men in the Fury Corps. He says we'll never win otherwise. Oh. He was so unlike Heisuke I remembered, so stern and cold, but I couldn't help but feel sad as well.
でも、三男さんが何を言っても、最終的にどうするかを決める権限は、土方さんにあるからね。
Well, no matter what Sanan says, at the end of the day, it's going to be Hijikata who makes the call.
だよな。ただ、羅刹体はもう存在しちまってるわけだし、臭いものに蓋をし続けるには限度があるよな。
You're right, but the Fury Corps already exists. We can't pretend it doesn't. I mean, he's freaking in it.
まあ、三男さんの言う通り、羅刹体を強力な戦力って割り切って活用するのも間違いではないんじゃない？
Then maybe Sanan's right, and we should use the Fury Corps however we see fit.
剣としては使えるからね。
At least they can still wield swords. His last words are cold, hateful, and filled with self-derision. Perhaps we could use the Furies as a weapon. They might help us win the coming war, for strength would be an undeniable military asset. But once the war was over, what would become of them? I was afraid to ask that question because I feared I already knew the answer. I don't think holding them down and trying to kill them is going to work. It's like they're in human strength and they just start a whole new weird war. The next day, an unexpected visitor arrived. Oh! Yay!
こんにちは。しばらくぶりね。
How are you the princess when I'm like a part of a pureblood family? You think the purebloods would be the rulers, but nope. Hello, Chizuru. It's been far too long. Sen and Kimikiku, why are you here?
局長殿に用があって参りました。取り次いでいただけますか？
We could animate her mouth. We've business with the chief. Can you go get him for us? Oh, Kondo isn't good enough shape to speak to anyone. Perhaps Hijikata?
じゃあ、土方さんでいいわ。
Then Hijikata will serve admirably. All right, please come inside.
意外な客があったもんだな。本来ここは部外者は立ち入り禁止なんだが、今日は一体何の用だ？
Huh. We don't usually allow visitors in here. What do you want?
ごめんなさい。どうしても今日しなければならない話があったものですから。
My apologies for intruding, but it was imperative that I speak with you today. I'll go make some tea.
いえ、話が終わればすぐおいとまするからお茶はいらないわ。
No, thank you. But that's not necessary. I shall take my leave as soon as I'm finished.
それより、あなたもここにいて。あなたにも聞いておいてほしい話だから。
And in fact, I would prefer you stay. You may wish to hear this as well. Okay. What did she have to say that was so important that might be something I should hear? Three annoying demons seem to come to mind. I sat down in a corner and did my best to pay attention.
話っていうのは他でもありません。羅刹のことなんです。
Ugh. I have come to discuss your furies. Yes, grunted her. That's just useful. When he heard the word furies, I saw his face twitch.
単刀直入に伺いますが、一体いつまで羅刹をお使いになるつもりですか？
I'll get straight to the point. How much longer will you employ them?
いつまでとは？
What do you mean?
これだけ長い間、彼らを刺激しているんですもの。わかるでしょ？
You've kept them enslaved for quite some time. I believe you know exactly what I mean.
羅刹は失敗作です。幕府側もそう認めています。
The Furies are a failed experiment. Even the Shogunate has admitted to that.
あれはあなた方の手に余るもの。これ以上、羅刹にも鬼にも関わるべきじゃありません。
They are too much for your organization to deal with. With demons on your trail, you will do well to wash your hands of the Furies. Hijikata's frown deepened.
失敗かどうかは使ってる俺たちが決めることじゃねえのか。
Isn't it up to us to decide whether a failure or not?
こっちでも幕府とは別の方法で羅刹に改良を加えてるところだ。
We've done our own research on the water of life.
あんたらにごちゃごちゃ言われる筋合いはねえよ。
I was expecting more. I don't think that's your place to judge us, ma'am. He narrowed his eyes at Sen and they glittered like spear points, but she seemed unconcerned. It was Kimigiku who spoke up.
では、あなたたち新選組の羅刹の方が見回りと称して辻斬りをしているのはご存知ですか？
Then you are aware of it. The Sensengumi's furies have been murdering people in the street to test their strength.
何？
What? For a split second, his cold mask dropped and I saw genuine confusion and dismay on his face. Yeah, that would not be a good thing to have happen. Then it was gone and he was cold and composed once again. Okay.
そりゃどこで掴んだ情報だ？
Where did you hear that?
お答えする必要はありませんわ。ただ信頼できる筋から得たとだけ言っておきます。
I have no reason to tell you, but rest assured that it was from a reliable source.
羅刹化して血に狂ってしまう症状は全く改善されていません。
You have not been able to keep the water of life from driving your men mad.
都の治安を守るのがあなた方の役目ではなかったかしら。
Your job is to protect the safety of the capital, correct?
そんな方たちが罪のない民を切るなんて本末転倒もいいところですわ。ことが公になって民心が離れる前に羅刹たちを処分すべきです。
And yet your men roam the streets, killing innocent civilians. It disgusts me. Before this becomes common knowledge, I strongly suggest you disband the Fury Corps. Kimigiku's logic was sound. Hijikata had no counter-argument. Everyone in the room had fallen silent. But was it true? Were the Furies indeed cutting people down the street for the thrill of killing? If the Fury Corps was disbanded, then Sana and Heisuke would... Every one of us waited for Hijikata's answers with bated breath. My heart roared in my ears.
とりあえずこの話はここで保留ってことにしてもう一つの要件に移らせてください。
I suppose we can table this for the moment. There is something else I must discuss. With this, she turned and looked at me. Hi, yes.
ここを出て私たちと一緒に来ない？
Is this like a monthly thing? You're gonna come and ask me this question? Chizuru, will you please leave with us? What? Hadn't we already covered this the last time she came to visit?
前にも同じことを言ったけど、あの時と今じゃ状況が変わっちゃってるでしょ？
I know we spoke before, but the situation has changed. You do understand that, don't you?
近いうちに今日は戦場になります。逃げ出すのなら今のうちですわ。
Soon, war will break out in Kyoto, and if you are going to escape, this is your best chance. I knew war was coming, but hearing the truth presented so badly was jarring.
ここの人たちじゃ戦になった時、あなたを守りきれるとは思えないの。私たちと行きましょう。
I don't believe the Shinsengumi will be able to protect you once the war begins. Please, come with us.
おい、それどういう意味だ？俺たちが非力だって言いてえのか？
Wait a minute, are you suggesting we can't handle it? Yeah, that's what they're aiming at, low blow, but yes, that's what they're insinuating.
耳が痛いかもしれないけど、事実でしょ？もし風間がここに来たら、あなたたち、彼女を守れるんですか？
The truth is sometimes hard to accept. If Kazama returns, can you protect her from him?
もしかしたら、薩摩や長州の兵隊たちと戦っている間に来てしまうかもしれないんですよ。
What if he comes to call when you're locked in battle elsewhere against the Satsuma and Chosu? Will you be able to protect her then? Hijikata scalded but said nothing.
それに、彼女はあなたたちとは違う。鬼なんだから私たちと共に来るべきです。私たちなら彼女を守ってあげられる。
And in any event, she's a demon, not a human. She should be with her own kind. We can protect her. She turned from Hijikata to face me once again.
ね、一緒に行こう。あなたが私たちと来れば、この人たちも戦いに専念できるわ。
You see, you should come with us. If you leave, then they can concentrate wholly on the battles to come. Her words hit like blows, but she spoke the truth. War would soon break out, and perhaps remaining with the Shinsengumi would be dangerous for me and for them. I would be useless in war. I was no soldier. Even so, I wanted to stay. I looked over at Hijikata, hoping he might give me an answer. Don't look away! He only furrowed his brow and looked the other way, saying nothing. What was I to do? Well, it seems to be... I have to leave. I should leave. Okay, so do I want to? Or should I just reluctantly say it? So, okay, first one's like, I am sure of it. This one's like, okay, I guess. I'm gonna go with the I guess type answer. I was sure Sen was right. I should leave, but the words just couldn't come. In truth, I didn't want to leave. I hoped that maybe someday all the madness and war would end, and then I could be a human being, not a demon.
どうして黙ってるの？さっきも言った通り、あなたはここを出た方が。
What do you say? You really ought to leave. You'll be much safer with us. Her voice was kind. I knew she had only my best interests at heart, but I still couldn't bring myself to respond. Hijikata, of course, saw straight through me.
出て行きたくねえんだろ
You don't want to leave, do you? Huh?
う。だったら余計なことを考える必要はねえ。ここにいりゃいい。
Then stay. What's there to think about? But is that really okay? If Kazama came after me again...
何度も同じことを言わせるな。それとも、この新選組はそんなに頼りなく見えるってのか？
I'm not going to repeat myself. Or are you suggesting Shinsengumi can't handle this? Possibly suggesting, but I believe in you. And we got romance, so yay, yay. No, of course not. It's just, if I stay here, I cause trouble for you guys, then...
この二人と一緒に行ったところで、風間に居場所を嗅ぎつけられねえ保証はねえんだろ
う。Well, what proof do you have that these two can keep you a secret any better than we can?
奴は、俺たち新選組にとっても敵だ。同じ敵を相手にすんなら、一緒にいた方が効率がいいじゃねえか。
Even if he wasn't after you, that bastard would be an enemy of ours. If we got the same enemies, it makes sense to me that we'd stick together. He was as gruff as ever, but it wasn't hard to understand what he was trying to say. So, I can stay?
愚問だ。迷惑だと思ってたら、とっくに放り出してる。
What the hell kind of question is that? If you were as much of a pain in the ass as you seem to think, I would have kicked you out a long time ago. Relief flooded out across my body. Thank you so much. With war set to break out at any time, the Shinsengumi was changing. I didn't know how useful I could be to them once battle was joined. But even so, Hijikata told me it was okay to stay. So you turned me down again then, have you? Sen looked at me with a slightly sad smile as I walked her and Kimigiku out of the meeting room. I'm sorry. It was very nice of you to offer, though.
いいのよ。あなたがここにいたいっていうのなら、無理強いはできないもの。
No, it's all right. If you're so determined to stay, then what could I ever hope to do?
それより、教えてほしいことがあるんだ。前にあなたが言ってた気になる人って、土方さんのことなの？
You're the one who sets me on. It's like this. It's like, is she the one that sets me on the route? It's like, oh, he's your one with the highest love interest. This is your route. Finally. There was only one tiny little thing I wanted to ask you. When you told me before you were interested in someone, did you perchance mean Hijikata? What? I wasn't quite sure how to answer that question. Well, to be honest, I don't really know Hijikata that well, but... I stumbled over my words, not quite sure how to explain how I felt, perhaps because I wasn't quite sure myself. The men call him the demon because he's so strict and harsh with the soldiers. A lot of people think that he doesn't care about anyone and that he's cold, but I think he's a kind heart in there. He has a lot of responsibilities and the whole Shinsengumi rides on his back. I don't think he has any choice but to act like that. I don't know what I can do for him, but I want to stay here and do whatever I can. Sin had been nodding encouragingly and making little hums of agreement, but now she suddenly burst out laughing.
それって完璧に捕まっちゃってるじゃない。
Well, I dare say he has captured you quite thoroughly. What?
私のご先祖様にあたる鈴鹿御前も坂の上の田村麻呂って人間の男に恋をして今日までついてきたんだって。
They say that my ancestors, Suzuka Gozen, fell in love with a human by the name of Tamuramaru Osakanoe and followed him to the capital. Oh, I said that in one go. It was awesome. A shogun during the Heian period, he defeated Suzaka Gozen, a female demon who lived in the Suzaka mountain, and conquered the Tohaku region. Yeah, it didn't sound very good unless he defeated her in a whole nother meaning. Then, okay.
その子孫が私。だからあなたの気持ちは私にもわかるつもり。
I am, in fact, their granddaughter. So I suppose I know something of how you feel.
どんな事情も立場も恋の前には無力だもんね。
What? Wait, what? Love, I didn't mean, I never meant... She only rested her hand on my shoulder and continued.
人と鬼っていう立場の違いはあるけど、うまくいかないって決まったわけじゃないもんね。
She's so cute. Sorry. You may be two different creatures, human and demon, but do not think that means your love is doomed to failure.
頑張ってね。応援してるから。
Best of luck to you, Chizuru. I shall be cheering for you.
姫様、そろそろ行きませんと。
My lady, we should go.
あ、そうね。
Oh, yes, you're right.
それじゃあ、元気でね。風間は本当に手強い鬼だから、気をつけて。
Then I must take my leave, dear Chizuru. Do take care. You mustn't underestimate Kazama. He is terribly powerful. All right. Thank you. Goodbye. In mere moments, they were gone. Circumstance and rank mean little before the power of love. But this thing I felt, the desire to be close to Hijikata, was that really love? I just wanted to be around him and help him. Besides, the most important thing to Hijikata was the Shinsengumi. He built it up from nothing and put everything he was into it. With war against Satsuma and Choso brewing, he hadn't the time to think of anything else. That being the case, as someone under the care of the Shinsengumi, I needed to think of how I could best put my own skills to use. Just before the beginning of the next year, Okita's condition worsened. It was determined that he had contracted pulmonary tuberculosis. Oh no. I don't remember what that is, but oh no. Yeah, I can't recall. I'm sorry. It was not an uncommon disease, but it was incurable. I suspected that he might be seriously ill when he began losing his strength, but I never guessed tuberculosis was the cause. Okay, I looked it up. It's, leaves little nodules in the lungs. I had to look it up. I'm like, what is this? Yeah, it's highly infectious, too. So that's not very good. I wonder how he contracted it, though. That's, The entire Shinsengumi was shocked and saddened by the news. Yeah, I can see that. I can imagine, right? Kyoto was still on high alert. The Shinsengumi remained on standby at the Fushimi Magistrate's office through the year-end celebrations. My hope that tempers would calm and the threat of war would fade lasted until 3 days after the new year. A dispute arose between the Satsuma domain and a group of shogunate troops attempting to enter Kyoto. Violence broke out, and suddenly, war was upon us. The shogunate army in Kyoto roughly numbered 15,000 men, while the Satsuma and Chonsu alliance commanded only 5,000. Victory for the shogun should have been a foregone conclusion. The Satsuma and Chonsu, however, had bet their very livelihoods on this war, and determination and morale were high. Perhaps more importantly, the Satsuma had faced the British in battle, and Chonsu had faced the British, French, and Dutch. Both domains had learned modern Western tactics. Armed with only swords against the Satsuma and Chonsu's rifles, the Shinsengumi were at a tremendous disadvantage. During the war, the Fushimi magistrate's office was set on fire, and the Shinsengumi had no choice but to retreat from Kyoto. Maybe that didn't go well at all.
大丈夫かね？少し休んだ方がいいかい？
Are you alright? Perhaps you should rest. No, I'm fine. We can't afford to stop. I'll be alright. I wiped the sweat from my brow, took a deep breath, and forced my throbbing feet to move. We were on our way to Kyoto Castle under orders from Hijikata. The Shinsengumi was doing poorly, so we'd been dispatched to bring reinforcements. Castle in Kyoto domain is built by the confluence of the Kizu, Kasara, and Uji rivers. I was more curious of who's in the castle, but okay. Do you really think the people at Kyoto Castle will help us out?
何としてでも助けてもらわねばな。土方さんのためにも絶対に。
They have to. We need the help. And so does Hijikata.
あの人には負けは似合わない。もうあの人のあんな顔は見たくないからな。
You can't lose. I never want to see him like that again. What? I remember the Battle of Fushimi all too clearly. Fushimi? On the evening of the third day of the new year, the war began. Cannons pounded the Fushimi magistrate's office, and the ground shook with each impact.
土方さん、もう無理だ。奴ら坂の上にバカでかい大砲を仕掛けてやがる。
Hijikata, we can't take any more of this. That cannon up on the hill is tearing us apart.
坂を登ろうとした橋から撃ち殺されちまう。ありゃ、切り合いに持ち込むなんて無理だぜ。
If we try and go up there, their guns will mow us down before we even get close.
しかも奴らの持っている銃、射程が恐ろしく長い。かなり離れているというのに、2発に1発が命中している。
The rifles have impressive range, and the gunners are skilled. One out of every 2 shots finds its mark, despite the distance.
新八のやつはどうしたんだ？見当たらねえが。
Where's Senpachi? I can't find him.
新八なら2番隊15名と共に敵陣へ切り込みに行ってる。
He took 15 men from the 2nd Division to attack the enemy line.
敵陣に切り込みって、正気か？どう考えたって生きて帰ってこられるはずがねえだろう。
Attack the enemy line? Is he insane? He's gonna die out there. I could see the muscle working in Hijikata's jaw, but he said nothing. His face was pale, although whether from fear or tension, I couldn't tell. Outside the roar of the cannons continued unabated. Just when it seemed certain that Nagakura must have perished.
よ、ただいま。今戻ったぜ。
Hey guys, I'm back. I'm like, we're in the middle of war. Why are you like, I'm back?
新八!
Senpachi! Cries of surprise filled the room.
生きていたのか？まさか。
You're alive?
おっと、幽霊じゃないぜ。よく見てくれよ。足もちゃんとついてるから。
What, do I look like I'm a ghost? Go ahead, touch me if you don't believe it. He grinned as he wiped a thick smear of blood and dirt from his face.
ただ、敵本陣に飛び込むのはどうやっても無理だった。先に出て行った合図の部隊も押し返されてるみてえだ。
Anyway, it's impossible to get to the enemy line. Some Aizu guys went ahead of us, but I heard they got pushed back too.
副長、これ以上は無理です。撤退のご決断を。
Commander, there's nothing else we can do. Please, order the retreat. Hijikata is pissed. At the same time, it's like, I would love to take a picture of this, but it's so dark. His brow furrowed and he scowled furiously.
おい、なんだこりゃ。どこかから煙が流れてきてやがるぞ。
Whoa, what's this? Where's the smoke coming from?
大砲の火が奉行所に燃え移ったか。さっさと逃げねえとやばいぜ。土方さん、撤退だ。
The cannon must have set the building on fire. We need to get out of here or we're dead. Hijikata, we have to retreat. Even Nagakura's pleas seem to fall on deaf ears.
トシさん。
Toshi. Until this moment, the Shinsengumi had never known defeat in battle, but they were helpless against the firearms of the Satsuma and Chosu. With Shinsengumi, it was Hijikata's life. Defeat was hard to accept. After what seemed like an eternity, he let out a long, ragged sigh.
なるほど。もう刀や槍の時代じゃねえってことだな。
I guess this is the end. Nobody can win a war with swords and spears anymore. His knuckles turned white. There were several more minutes of tense, breathless silence before he finally looked up, his eyes burning with fury.
ここは撤退だ。
We're pulling back.
だが、まだ負けたわけじゃねえ。この借りは必ず返してやるからな。
But we haven't lost. They'll pay for this. Fury wasn't the only thing in those eyes. Behind them, I could see bitter, desperate agony.
あの人がどんな思いで撤退の言葉を口にしたか、付き合いの長い私にはよくわかってるつもりだ。
I've been with him a long time. I know how hard it was for that man to admit we had to retreat. Anyway, I gazed up at the sky.
負け戦なんてのは一度経験すればもう十分だよ。
One loss is enough.
私は刀としてはまるっきりイサミさんたちの役に立たないと思ってる。
I'm not nearly as good a swordsman as Kondo. What? No, don't say. He interrupted me with a kind smile and continued.
ただ、こんな私でも新選組を勝たせるためにできることはきっと何かあるはずだ。
But there are still ways for me to be of use to Shinsengumi.
だから頑張ろうな。
So, let's get our hopes up, shall we? Okay. The Shinsengumi, Kondo, and Hijikata needed my help. I had to do whatever I could. It took us several hours to reach Kyoto Castle. Hijikata's hope was to use the castle as a new staging area where he could garrison our troops and launch ambushes from. Unfortunately, that's weird. Why are the gates closed? Do you think they're already preparing for battle? There were no guards inside the castle or indeed anywhere we could see. It was uncomfortably quiet.
いや。
No. He stood for a moment, absolutely rubbing his chin in thought before finally making a decision.
我々は幕命を受けて参った。お上に弓引く逆賊を迎え撃つため力を貸してもらいたい。
We are here on the orders of the Shogun. We have come to request your help in battle against the rebels who would dare challenge this country's rightful rulers. His voice echoed out through the stillness, but no one responded. I'd almost begun to think the castle was simply abandoned when... Oh, look, there was someone in that window. Huh? They've got something shiny.
危ない!
Sit down! Huh? Anyway, grabbed me by the wrist and pulled me down just as gunshots echoed from the castle walls. My eyes darted around, but there was no rebels nearby. That meant the bullets were meant for us. What's going on? I thought Yoda were friendly. A domain governed by the Inaba clan during the Bakumatsu period, their Domayo was one of the shogun's executive ministers, but was not around during the Battle of Toba-Fushimi. So the leader wasn't here? Okay.
薩長の勢いに気をされたか。はたまた民を戦乱に巻き込みたくないとの辛抱遠慮か。
Either they're already overrun by rebels, or they don't want to ally with a side they think is going to lose.
とりあえず本体へ戻ろう。これ以上ここにいるのは危険だ。
We need to get back to the men. It's dangerous to stay here. But Hijikata told us to get reinforcements from Yodo. Anyway, only shook his head.
あんたももう分かってるだろう。彼らは我々の味方ではない。
It's clear by now, but they're no longer our allies.
ここに長居すればするだけ、あんたを危険にさらすことになる。
The longer we stay here, the more danger I put you in. But if we leave, then what's going to happen to Hijikata? What's going to happen to the Shinsengumi? Let's try and talk to them. If we explain what's going on, I'm sure they'll understand. I never seen Inoue glare at me before. Oh yeah, he's pissed.
いい加減にしなさい。トシさんのために増援を呼びたいのは私だって同じだ。
It's enough. I won't go back to Toshi with reinforcements as much as you do. I felt myself wilt under his anger.
だが私はヨド藩に援軍を頼みに行くのと同時に、あんたを守る役目も仰せつかってるんだよ。
But my job here is twofold. To ask for reinforcements and to protect you.
もしあんたの身に何かあれば、命令に背くことになる。さあ。
If something happens to you now, then I will fade him twice. Now come. There's nothing I could say. Inoue had fought alongside Hijikata since their first days in Edo, before the Shinsengumi. He was undoubtedly felt even more devastated by Yoda's betrayal than I had, but he still had chosen to retreat so that he might protect me. Never before had I felt so ashamed and so helpless. There's nothing I could do. I'm sorry. I'm useless. I failed. Tears welled up in my eyes and I brushed them away roughly.
気にせんでいいよ。
Don't worry about it.
何？トシさんのことだ。きっとこの状況をひっくり返すだけの奇策を考えてくれるさ。
After all, this is Toshi we're talking about. I'm sure he'll come up with some amazing plan and turn this whole thing around. He laid his hand on my shoulder and gave it a gentle, reassuring squeeze. I focused on the warmth of his hand and felt myself begin to calm down. Your hand is warm. It reminds me of when my father used to pat me on the head when I was a little girl. Anyway, his face wrinkled as he laughed.
父様か。
Father, huh?
そうだな。私も本来はあんたくらいの娘がいてもおかしくない年なんだよな。
I guess if I had a daughter, she would be your age right now. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say something wrong?
いやいや、そんなことないさ。こんな可愛い娘なら大歓迎だ。
Oh, no, not at all. I would have been honored to have a daughter like you.
さあ、戻るぞ。私たちがなかなか戻ってこなくて、大使たちも心配しているだろう。
Now we should be going. I'm sure the men we left behind will get worried if we aren't back soon. Okay. What? We were nearly to the location when we left the rest of the soldiers, but something felt wrong. Weren't they supposed to be here? Did we get lost?
いや、そんなはずはない。確かここをまっすぐ行ったところに。
No, it couldn't have. It should be just up ahead. Then, just as we rounded the corner, I saw something lying on the ground. Anyway, there's someone over here.
まさか。薩長の軍勢はまだここまで来ていないはずだが。
No, impossible. The rebels couldn't have gotten here already. He's wearing Shinsengumi blues. Could he...
足音を立てるんじゃない。ゆっくり近づこう。
I think I read the wrong person, but I'm sorry. Stay quiet. We don't want to give ourselves away. I nodded. Could Satsuma, Chonsu Alliance already have troops here? If they did, they were hiding them very well. Neither Inoue nor I could sense anyone nearby. No rebels, but no Shinsengumi either. Ah! We came around another bend of the road and I gasped. Warriors in the blue jackets and Shinsengumi were piled along the road, dead where they had fallen. And standing in the middle of this carnage.
見覚えのある羽織を着た連中がうろついているからまさかとは思ったがやはり来ていたか。
I like you and I hate you all at the same time. I thought these men looked familiar. You are here. Kazama's smile was a cruel, mocking thing. You! Why? I was so furious I could barely speak.
ヨド藩の動向を見に出向いたまでだ。面倒ごとにもたまには手を出してみるものだな。
To see what the Yodo domain had decided to do. It seems following tedious politics has, at last, paid off.
まさかこんなところで会えるとは思わなかったぞ。
I never thought I might find you. I felt his eyes on me, like those of a snake staring down its prey, before they shifted, taking the dead men that littered the ground around him.
お前が戻ってくるまでの退屈しのぎにこの連中と遊んではみたが、今すら潰せなかったな。
I thought they might entertain me until you returned, but they weren't even skilled enough to do that. Don't touch Inoue. Mine. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Inoue shake with rage. Most of the men who lay dead on the ground in front of us were members of his 6th division. And now, because I had chosen to stay with Shinsengumi, Kazama had returned, and Inoue's men were dead. Kazama had taken their lives, and for what?
前回は思わぬ邪魔が入ったが、今度こそ一緒に来てもらうぞ。
I was otherwise engaged during our last encounter, Chizuru, but this time you will be leaving with me. Kazama had demonic powers that put him in a class above any mortal man. 2 skilled swordsmen working in concert might be able to hold him back, but not defeat him. Inoue and I would not be able to defeat him, nor, I suspected, would he allow us to escape. If I surrendered to him, however, he might let Inoue leave. I stepped forward and steeled myself.
下がっていなさい。
Stay back. Inoue moved forward and put himself between me and Kazama. Inoue, what are you doing?
早く逃げなさい。そして、トシさんにこう伝えてくれ。
I'm sorry, but you'll have to run for it. Get back to headquarters and tell Toshi.
力不足で申し訳ない。最後まで共にあれなかったことを許してほしい。
Tell him that I apologize for my incompetence, and I hope he'll forgive me for not staying with him to the end.
こんな私を今日まで一緒に連れてきてくれて、最後の夢を見せてくれて、感謝してもしきれない。とね。
Don't you just to me? Tell him I don't have the words to thank him for giving a man like me a chance to be a part of something. I'll never forget what he did for me. I am trying not to cry right now. Too late. I failed. No! I can't do that. I won't leave you here to die. I choked out a sob and blinked away sudden tears. This man is after me. If I go with him, then you can live, please. Inoue's smile was bitter.
やれやれ。女を盾にして逃げろっていうのかい？そりゃ武士の風上にも置けんだろう。
Yeah, he's right. Well, he's suggesting I should use a girl for shield so that I can escape. How can I call myself a warrior then?
それにな、子供を守って死ぬってのは親の本望でもある。親ってのは子供より先に死ぬもんだからな。
I love how Kazuma's very, just standing there waiting. It's like, I'll wait. Besides, what parent would lay down their life to protect their child? No father wants to see his daughter die before he does. But Inoue had finished talking, though. He turned his back to me and drew his sword. So I remember the conversation we had on the way back from Kyoto Castle. He had told me he was old enough to have a daughter my age. No, I cried to myself. But it doesn't mean he has to do this. How can he throw his life away? Please, Inoue, run! I screamed and pleaded, but his back didn't move.
根性の別れは済んだか。
Finish with your farewells.
では、先ほどの言葉に込められた本気がどれほどのものか、試してみるとするか。
Then, I'll give you a chance to take her up on her offer. Go on. Run. Kazuma let his hand fall from the hilt of his undrawn sword. I don't think that's the type of running he meant. Anyway, he launched himself at Kazuma and swung a sword down in a wide arc toward the demon's neck. Kazuma's sword slithered out of his scarab too fast for the eye to follow. His hand simply blurred and the tip of his blade emerged from Inoue's back. Blood bubbled out from between his lips. Inoue! He fell to his knees in a deep red stain rapidly devouring the light blue of his jacket. And Kazuma's eyes flickered like sparks and he bent down to whisper to Inoue.
どうした人間。先ほど俺に殺された連中はお前の部下なのだろう？
Is something the matter, human? Are the men I just slaughtered your subordinates?
仇を討ちたくはないのか？武士というのは仲間の仇討ちを美徳すると耳にしたぞ。
Don't you want to take revenge for them? I understand words, but great stock in avenging the deaths of their comrades in arms. Anyway, glared back at him with a white, hot rage and leapt to his feet. He lashed out furiously at the demon, blood splattering the ground beneath him. Kazama simply laughed and stepped easily around Inoue's swinging sword. I didn't even see him strike. There was only the momentary flicker of sunlight on a blade, and blood erupted from a gash across Inoue's chest.
すまんな。どうも力が入りすぎてしまったようだ。
My apologies. I may have hit a little too hard. He ground his teeth, trying desperately to overcome the pain, and turned his strained gaze to me.
何をしている！早く逃げんか！
What are you doing? Run! Droplets of blood from his mouth as he cried out, and his face was already waxy and pale. I scrambled to my feet and turned to leave.
やれやれ。今まで戦った人間どもの中で、お前が一番脆弱だったぞ。
My. Of all the humans I fought, you are, by far, the weakest.
なぜお前のような非力な者を仲間に迎えようと思ったのか。新選組の連中も妙なことをする。
Why would the Shinsengumi allow someone so pathetic among their ranks, I wonder? Though, I suppose they are rather eccentric. I felt something inside me snap. Stop! Don't! As I cried out, I heard the awful sound of steel slicing through flesh. Time slowed to a crawl, and I could do nothing but watch as Inoue fell, without a cry, to the ground. Inoue! Inoue! Even as part of my mind screamed at me to run, I scrambled toward him, grabbing for his hand. It was still warm. Warm like my father. But Inoue's eyes no longer saw. His ears no longer heard. He had joined his men among the corpse on the road.
邪魔者はいなくなったな。もうお前を助ける者はない。さあ、おとなしく俺と共に来るのだ。
Now this pest is dealt with. There is no one else to save you. Come. He flicked his sword clean and slid it back into its scarab. Then he stepped forward and reached for my hand. I was like, if I run, I don't think I'm going to make it either way. I'm not going down without a dang fight. I think. Yeah. Okay, get revenge. Inoue had told me to run. Hijikata needed to hear his last words, and I was in no position to fight a demon. I knew all of this, and I could hear a part of my mind screaming at me to run, but the roaring flames of rage drowned it out. How could I let him die to protect me? Inoue was so kind. Just looking at his lifeless body sprawled in the dirt made my heart feel as though it would shatter into 1,000 pieces. But more than anything, I hate Kazama for killing my friend, as if he was nothing more than an irritating insect. I grabbed desperately for my kodachi and pulled it from his scarab, bringing it out into an attack position.
お前はもう少し賢しい女だと思っていたが。
I thought you were smarter than this.
人間と暮らすうちに毒が体内に回ったか。落胆したぞ。
But I see your time with the humans has poisoned your mind. You disappoint me. Shut up! Hot tears rolled down my cheeks.
何をそんなに怒る。この虫けらのような男を殺されたのがそんなに悔しいか。
Why are you so upset? Does it bother you that I swallowed this fly?
たかが人間が鬼に歯向かったのだ。当然の末路だろう。
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were just going to say more. He was a human, and he was foolish enough to challenge a demon. What other outcome could have there been? Shut up! Shut up! Never in my life had I spoken to someone like that, but never in my life had I so wanted to kill someone. If only I had been able to transform my wrath into strength, I would have been the strongest creature alive. You! I can never forgive you for what you've done. Please, Inoue, give me strength to strike him down. I tightened my grip on my sword, my knuckles white, and looked to Kazama with a yell. Ah! Contemptuously, he slapped my strike aside. My kodachi flew out of my hands and clattered to the ground. I reached out to grab it again. Ah! Kazama's foot came down on my arm and pain shot through it.
さて、 茶番は終わりだ。
Enough of this stupid game. His red, arrogant eyes burned into mine. The eyes of the monster who had killed Inoue.
しかしどちらが主人なのかをわきまえぬ振る舞いは不快だな。
You do not seem to understand who your master is. That is unfortunate.
二度と俺に逆らう気など起こさぬよう仕置きをしておくか。
Perhaps I should punish you so you will never defy me again. I felt the cold steel of his sword on my throat.
しつけには苦痛がよく効く。幸い傷を負ってもすぐ癒える体だからな。
Pain is an excellent tool for discipline. Fortunately, your body heals very quickly. Damn you! I glared at Kazama with all the anger I could muster, but all I got in return was a cruel smile. Anyway, told me to run. But I hadn't, and now I couldn't. Kazama was right about one thing. I couldn't escape him. If I couldn't escape, then at least I could refuse to give him the satisfaction of a compliant victim. If you're going to do this, is to use me however you like, but I might as well bite off my tongue and drown in my own blood.
おい、誰がそんな真似を許した？
Don't remember giving you permission to do that.
俺の目の届かねえところで勝手に命を投げ出そうとするんじゃねえ。
And I don't care much for people who can't follow orders. The moment I heard that voice, my head suddenly cleared. There was no way I could mistake it. It was... Hijikata! My tears sprang to my eyes again, but for a very different reason. This was no dream, no hallucination. Toshizo Hijikata stood in front of me.
くそ、嫌な予感が的中しやがったか。
Damn it, I had a feeling you guys would choke, but... He stopped just as his voice was about to crack and simply looked at Inoue's body, his face twisted with grief and regret. Hijikata's jaw tightened and his breath shook as if he were about to cry. I knew what I was about to say would hurt him, but he had to hear it. Inoue wanted me to tell you something. He said that he wanted to apologize for incompetence, that he hoped you forgive him for not staying with you until the end. There's a lump in my throat and my eyes burned, but I had to keep going. He said he didn't have the words to thank you for giving a man like him the chance to be part of something, and that he would never forget what you did for him. As he choked out the final words, I began to sob. Hijikata said nothing. Slowly, almost as if in prayer, he bowed his head. Then he lifted it again. His eyes were changed, but they shone with brilliant fires of rage. With a tight, deliberate purpose, he drew his sword. But Izumi no Kami Kanasada? Izumi no Kami Kanasada. It whispered through the air as he raised it to an attack stance. The favorite sword of Toshizo Hijikata. It was the sword of the 11th generation Kanasada swordsmith. Okay, fair enough.
やれやれ、無駄死にがまた増えるか。なぜそこまで死に急ぐのか理解できぬな。
Another human who wishes to throw his life away. It is difficult for me to understand why your kind is so astonished to die.
手間はかかるが仕方あるまい。かかってこい。
I was hoping I'd seen the last of this idiocy. Very well, let's get this over with. Kazama's voice was bored, but as he spoke, the fire in Hijikata's eyes grew into a raging furnace.
無駄死にって言いやがったか、今。
Throw his life away, you piece of shit!
この俺の前で無駄死にとおざきやがったか!
Oh, okay. How dare you say he threw his life away? Hijikata roared in wordless fury and launched himself toward Kazama. With all his weight behind the blade, he struck at the demon's neck. Kazama flicked his sword up to catch Hijikata's. For a moment, it looked as though they were evenly matched. By the way, is he still standing on my back or my arm or what? And then Kazama was thrown back.
なんだと?
What? From the look on his face, it was likely the first time he'd ever found himself overpowered by a human, and he was stunned. Hijikata didn't let that opening go to waste. He pushed forward, his sword hissing back and forth through the air as if possessed. Just moments ago, Kazama's face had been calm and serene, but now it was warped with frustration and surprise. Hijikata, by contrast, wore a manic grin, and his blade slammed again and again into Kazama with more strength than I had ever seen before.
まさかこの姿を人前にさらすことになるとは思わなかった。
That's definitely different. I never thought I would show this form to a mere human.
喜べ人間、本物の鬼の姿を目にした瞬間に死ねるのだからな。
Be honored, mortal. The moment your eyes behold a true demon is the moment of your death. And with that, the battle changed. Kazama's sword hummed and flickered through the air with ease, far faster and smoother than it had been a minute before. It was all Hijikata could do to anticipate and block his strikes, leaving him no time to try and land an offensive blow of his own.
どうしたさっきまでの勢いは、お前の感じていた悔しさとはその程度のものだったのか。
Where's the fire you had a moment ago? Is this the most you muster for the dead insect? Kazama's demonic strength and endurance were beginning to show. He wasn't even breathing hard. Damn! Hijikata, however, was quickly running short of breath. All Kazama had to do was wait for him to tire and... Damn it! He threw his full strength behind his sword and lunged at Kazama one more time. The demon anticipated his blow easily and twisted to the side as Hijikata's blade swept past him. Kazama's hand snapped out and Hijikata's sword fell clattering to the ground. Hijikata! In my mind's eye, I could already see him crumpling to the dirt just as Inoue had done, a slow pool of blood growing under his still warm body. I had to do something. I couldn't let him die too. But I was utterly and completely helpless. Useless. He fell to his knees, his chest heaving. Sweat rolled down his forehead in streams and the cloth of his shirt was soaked. Kazama lifted his sword and pointed it at Hijikata.
これでしまいだ。
This is the end for you. His mouth curved up into a cold, confident smile.
人間というのは愚かなものだな。叶わぬと知りながら我らに立ち向かう。それは勇気ではなく蛮勇と呼ぶのだ。
Humans are such fools. They'll try to fight what they know they cannot defeat. I call that reckless, not courage.
鬼の力を軽んじ恐れることを忘れたお前たちが悪い。己の不明を恥じて死ね。
You have underestimated the power of a demon and chosen not to fear us. I hope your last thoughts are a shame of your ignorance. As Kazama spoke, Hijikata dragged his tired body across the ground toward his fallen sword.
何をしている？まさか逃げるつもりか？
What's this? Trying to run. Hijikata had reached his sword. With the last ounce of his strength he possessed, he lifted it up once again and turned to face his foe.
まだあがくつもりか。あれだけコケにされて、まだ比嘉の実力差を理解できんとはな。
You won't bow, will you? I've made a fool of you, and yet you refuse to acknowledge the difference between us. No. Hijikata was not the sort of man to care about difference in strength, but neither was he the sort of man that would simply abandon victory. So why, then, had he not responded? As I watched, he pulled out something from inside his shirt. Ah! A tiny bottle filled with red liquid.
落ち水か。
What?
どこまでも愚かな真似を。
Water of life, eh? How far do you mean to take this idiocy? Hijikata replied with a toothy grin.
愚か？それがどうしたってんだ。
I'm an idiot, huh? Like I give a shit what you think.
俺たちは元から愚か者の集団だ。馬鹿げた夢を見て、それだけをひたすら追いかけてここまで来た。
We were always a pack of idiots. We share an idiot's dream that we were all too bullheaded to give up on. And now, here we are.
今はまだ坂道を登ってる途中なんだ。こんなところでぶっ倒れて転げ落ちちまうわけにはいかねえんだよ。
We're halfway up the hill. If we stumble now, we're gonna fall all the way back down.
たとえ羅刹となったとしても、所詮はまがいもの。鬼の敵ではない。
Even if you become a fury, you'll be nothing more than a faded reflection of a true demon. Hijikata's grin never wavered.
そんなな、やってみなきゃわからねえぜ。
Well, you never know till you try. Hijikata, no! My cries fell on deaf ears. Hijikata lifted the bottle to his lips and drank. To be fair, we usually gave it to dying people and not really living. Well, except for Sanan. Yeah, that's why he took it better. In Hijikata's place, there was now a snow... Oh, bleh. Fuck it. Just take a picture. In Hijikata's place, there was now a white-haired demon. That was like the fastest transformation ever.
うるせえんだよ。
Shut up. Hijikata's voice rumbled out with a fury, dark and low, like approaching thunder. Hijikata became a fury after drinking the water of life. Thank you. I would never have guessed.
いい加減我慢ならねえ。腰抜けの幕府どもも、邪魔くせえ鬼も。
I've had enough of those fucking cowards in the shogunate, and I'm sick of your goddamn demons.
まがいものだと。それが一体どうしたってんだ。
So I'm not a real demon? Why the hell should I care?
俺たちは今までも散々武士のまがいものとして扱われてきたじゃねえか。
Never once in my whole Seihin life have they treated me like a real warrior. His eyes burned with anger.
だけどな、今の世の中、どこに武士がいるってんだよ。
But hell, where are you supposed to find a real warrior these days?
腰が引けて城の中閉じこもって、日和見決め込んで。
A lot of men call themselves samurai when all they do is sit behind 10 feet of stone in a castle and get fat.
あわよくば勝ち馬に乗ろうなんて考えてる卑しい連中ばかりじゃねえか。
Only thing those son of a bitches care about making is sure they buddy up to is the side that's gonna win.
俺たちはそんな連中よりよっぽど武士だぜ。
We're better soldiers than any of those bastards. Hijikata's words were not just for Kazama anymore. They were for Inoue, who had died in a fight he couldn't win, for the shogunate and the counselors, who didn't have the courage to make the difficult decisions, and for everyone who had ever refused to treat the Shinsengumi as true warriors.
何があってもてめえの信念だけは曲げねえ。どんな時でも絶対に交代はしねえ。
I believe what I believe. Nothing can change that, and I will never, ever retreat.
俺たちはそれだけを武器にここまでやってきた。
That's what brought us this far.
まがいものだろうがなんだろうが、貫きゃ誠になるはずだ。
Call us fake if you want, but if we push hard enough and don't give up, eventually we'll become what we say we are.
つまり、この羅刹の力でお前を倒せば、俺たちは本物になれるってこったろ。
If I can defeat you now, as a fury, then then we can become real demons, right? The predatory grin on Hijikata's face wasn't human. When he leapt to Kazama, he moved so fast I could barely even see him. He was impressive as human, but as a fury, he was beyond belief. Kazama smashed aside the first attack, but a second followed it almost immediately, and then a third. Blow after blow crashed against his defenses, giving him no time to even breathe.
ほら、どうした?
He looks slightly crazy. Come on, that's all you've got.
俺たちは虫けらなんだろう? 押し負けてるぜ、お兄さんよ!
I thought we were just ants for you to crush. Where's your smart mouth now, demon? Hijikata's eyes flashed like a great beast closing in on its prey, and he lunged at Kazama. With effort, he managed to swing his blade up in time to catch Hijikata's, but he lost the advantage of casually superior strength. His sword rebounded from Hijikata's strike and Kazama was forced back. Hijikata leapt for the opening. You got him. Hijikata's sword moved too fast for the eye to see. A line of blood simply appeared on Kazama's face. He clapped a hand to it in surprise and pain and jumped backward, trying to put a space between them.
これいや、凄みが増していい男になったじゃねえか。
Great. Looks like you're finally getting into it. You look like a man now.
さて、まがいものに傷をつけられた感想はどうだ？鬼の大将さんよ。
How does it feel to get cut by a fake? Kazama didn't even seem to hear Hijikata's words. He simply stared, eyes wide at the blood that fell from his face to pool in his hand. But even as I watched, his wounds close themselves, a stream of blood slowing into a trickle and then stopped. Damn you! Though the wound itself had disappeared, it seemed the ramifications had not.
虫嫌いかのまがいものの分際でよくもこの俺の顔に傷をつけたな。
How dare you, false demon insect scum! How dare you draw my blood? It must have been the first time he had ever been wounded by a human. Kazuma's preternaturally calm face was distorted now by rage and disgust. It was the first time I had ever seen him truly look like a demon.
貴様だけは絶対に許さんぞ。この世に存在するあらゆる苦痛を味わわせ、なぶり殺してやる。
Yep. Creepy. I will never forgive you for this. I will torture you until you beg for death. You will learn what it truly means to feel pain.
本性を荒らしやがったな。いいぜ。できるもんならやってみやがれ。
At last we get to see the real Kazama. Fine, come at me. I dare you to kill me. He bared his teeth in a wicked smile. Their swords collided with a resounding crash. Kazama had been strong before, but now his blows landed with all the strength of a cannon. Veins stood on Hijikata's neck and forehead as he strained against the onslaught.
貴様ごときまがいものがこの俺の顔に傷を。
Damn you! You're nothing, not even a shadow of a demon. How dare you draw my blood? Kazama had gone mad with rage, his golden eyes wide and bloodshot. Bastard! Every time their swords met, I could see Hijikata's chip and shake. It looked as if the next blow would break it in two. Hijikata tried desperately to block with the back of the blade and protect it from more damage, but Kazuma's strikes were too quick and too powerful. Hatred rolled off them in waves. Neither of them would be satisfied with simply killing the other.
てめえだけは絶対に許さねえぜ。地獄に落ちるときは共に引きずり込んでやる。
I'll never forgive you, you arrogant son of a bitch. I'm gonna go into hell, even if I gotta drag you there myself. His clothes were soaked with blood, but his eyes, alight with vigor and determination, shone out from beneath his white hair.
ほざけ、地獄に落ちるのは貴様だけだ。
Go to hell if you like. You'll be going alone. They leapt at each other with enraged animals, blows flying so quickly that they could only defend or attack on instinct. It was clear that the battle would only end when one of them was dead, and it was rapidly becoming clear that Hijikata was fighting in a way that put him at a disadvantage. Back home, he had been so calm, even in the heat of battle, but cool detachment had fled with his humanity. I had to stop him. If I didn't, Hijikata would die, but awe and terror at the display of violence and skill had sealed my voice and my throat. Even though I was a demon just like Kazama, I was helpless. It was maddening.
Oi, Yukimura kun.
Hi, yes? Yukimura. I heard footsteps start pounding along the path and spun around to find the source of that familiar voice.
副長が淀藩の様子を見に行ったきり戻ってない。途中で会わなかったか？
He's right over there. The commander left to go see how things have gone with Yodo and hasn't returned. Have you seen him? Yamazaki! His timing couldn't have been better. In that moment, Yamazaki looked like an angel. We're in trouble. Hijikata's fighting a demon, and Inoue is... I wanted to explain what had happened, but somewhere between my brain and my mouth got all jumbled, and I found myself stammering intelligibly. Yamazaki stared at me for only a moment before he glanced past my shoulder and saw a battle raging there. His eyes widened in shock and horror.
なんだあの白い髪の鬼は。
What's going on here? Wait here, demon. Is that a fury?
いや、片方の鬼が着ている着物には見覚えがある。あれはまさか。
No, those clothes, they're... Oh my god. Realization began to dawn on his face, but he couldn't tear his eyes away from the battle. That's Hijikata. He drank the water of life.
なんだと
No. With a dual twang, the sword leapt out of Hijikata's hands and clattered to the ground.
勝負あったか。その生蔵でよく今まで持ちこたえたものだ。
This battle's mine, though I'm impressed that you lasted so long with such a dual sword. He gave Hijikata a tight smile. Hijikata kept low to the ground and slowly began to move away. Kazama followed just as slowly, his grin widening at Hijikata's apparent fear.
覚えているだろうな。貴様はただでは殺さん。
I hope you haven't forgotten that I don't intend to simply kill you.
およそ思いつく限りの苦痛を味わわせて、いたぶりながら殺してやる。
Eventually you'll die, of course, but not before I've inflicted on you all the pain I can imagine. The advantage once again his, Kazama's calm hand returned.
ああ、お前を慕う新選組の連中のもとに、皮を剥いで塩漬けにしたムクロを送りつけてやるのもいいな。
Ah, I know. When I'm finished, I'll skin you alive and send your head back to your beloved Shinsengumi, preserved in alcohol. They'll deserve to see you at your best.
まずはその両腕を切り落とさせてもらうか。そしてその肉を野犬にでも食わせてやろう。
To start, though, I think I'll take off your arms and feed them to stray dogs. Kazama hefted his sword, its blade still clean and undamaged. Hijikata! I screamed as loud as I could, some irrational part of me hoping that might change the outcome. A horrible, wet sound filled my ears.
貴様!
What? I looked up. Blood had splattered across the front of Kazama's shirt, but Hijikata was unharmed.
何をしているんですか、副長。あなたは頭で、俺は手足のはずでしょう。
What are you doing, Commander? You're the minds of Shinsengumi. Where are your arms and legs?
そんな風に我を忘れて敵陣に突っ込んでどうするんですか。
Why are you running off to face the enemy alone?
山崎、お前。
Yamazaki, what are you saying? His voice shook. Yamazaki smiled back, his eyes shining as I had seen him do when he and Hijikata were discussing important secrets.
手足ならたとえなくなっても替えは利きます。
Yamazaki too. If you lose an arm or leg, you can always replace it.
ですが頭がなくなってしまっては何もかもおしまいです。
But if you lose the head, you lose everything.
副長と局長は二人で一人。
The chief and the commander. The two of you make a whole. And with that, he went limp, the last of his energy exhausted, and crumpled to the ground. Blood pooled beneath him, turning the packed dirt a deep red. Yamazaki! I grabbed a hold of him as if that might somehow bring him back to consciousness.
山崎! お前、
Yamazaki! Why? His hair had slowly begun shifting back to its original color, and as I watched, he struggled to blink back tears.
おーい土方さん山崎源さんどこにいるんだ
Hey! Hijikata! Yamazaki! Gen! Where are you guys? Nagakura's voice echoed through the forest from some distance away.
仲間が駆けつけてきたか。かくなる上はお前たちだけでも。
Damn it! I should just finish you off now. Kazama lifted his sword and made us swing it down when, out of nowhere, a hulking form appeared between us.
やめなさい。これ以上の戦いは いたずらに犠牲を増やすだけです。
Stop. Any further battles will only lead to unnecessary casualties.
この俺に引けというのか。俺の顔に傷を負わせた愚か者を見過ごせと。
Who are you ordering me to retreat? Am I supposed to let this worm who dared cut my face simply go free?
我々がここで手を下すのは容易です。だがそれは、薩摩藩の意向に反する。
Killing him would be easy enough for you, but to do so would go against the wishes of the Satsuma domain.
彼らはあくまでも、自らの手による倒幕を望んでいます。
Ultimately, they
我ら、鬼の手によるものではなく。
Ultimately, they desire for the shogunate to fall by their hand, not the hand of a demon. His tone made it clear how little he thought of that desire, but his commitment to obedience was clearly greater. Kazama wasn't pleased with Amagiri's interruption, but he seemed to feel that it was pointless to argue over the matter with his fellow demon.
土方と言ったな。お前の名前は決して忘れぬ。今日の借りは必ず返すからな。
Hijikata wasn't. I'll not forget that name. I will have my revenge.
それはこっちのセリフだ。てめえだけは絶対に地獄に落としてやらなきゃ気が済まねえ。
Same to you. I won't be able to sleep at night until I've sent your soul to the afterlife. They glared at one another with such hate that I felt as if they might spontaneously combust. Then Kazama spun on his heel and followed Amagiri off into the forest. No sooner had they disappeared.
ああ、いたいた。土方さん、これは一体どうなってるんだ。
Hey, there you are. Hijikata, what the hell's going on?
大使がやたら死んでるみてえだが、もしかして薩長の連中と戦ってたのか。
There's 10 men all over the
こりゃ
place.
どう見ても刀傷だよな。
Did you run into some troubles? No, those are sword cuts.
山崎を見てやってくれ。まだ死んじゃいねえはずだ。
Go look at Yamazaki. I think he's still alive.
え？
What? Nagakura stared in horror and some realization at Yamazaki's limp body.
おい、どうしたんだよ。しっかりしろって、山崎。
What happened here? Come on, Yamazaki, hang in there.
誰か綺麗な布持ってねえか。あと酒。焼酎でも清酒でも何でもいい。
Anyone got some clean cloth? And booze. Anything alcoholic's good.
布だったら俺のさらし使ってくれ。
Here, if you take this cloth like this, he needs it more than I do.
おう、ありがたい。
Thanks, Sano. Oh, I cut you off. I'm sorry. I'll help too. Let me look at him. I desperately called everything I could remember about first aid and set to work next to Nagakura and Harada.
副長、ここで一体何が？
Commander, what happened here? Hijikata didn't even seem to hear him.
まさかこの俺が大使を犠牲にして生き延びることになるなんてな。
I never thought I would sacrifice my own men so I could survive.
犠牲？
Sacrifice?
井上さんの亡骸があっちにあるんだ。埋めるの手伝ってくれねえか。
Inoue's body is over there.
あと、井上さんの部下の連中も。
Can you give me a hand burying him? His men too.
さすがにこの時期に野ざらしじゃ、いくらなんでも寒すぎるだろうからな。
It get cold this time of year. Can't leave him out here to freeze. I knew that he wanted to break down and cry more than any one of us, but in front of his men he struggled to grin and joke. It was just too much. I felt myself begin to sob, but I couldn't bear to do it in front of Inoue and Yamazaki, so I buried my face in my hands and let the tears flow soundlessly. Inoue had given his life to save mine. Hijikata had become a fury to fight the demon who had chased me across Kyoto. Yamazaki had taken a blow that might well end his life to protect Hijikata. What could I possibly do for them? How could I atone for my sins? I thought about it for a long time, but no answers came. That night, Sana and the Fury Corps launched an attack to revenge for the events of the afternoon. Once the sun set, it became harder to aim a gun, which the Shinsengumi hoped would give the Fury Corps the advantage. At first, it did, and the Furies were even more successful than they had hoped. But then the gunners began to fire different special bullets, and the Fury Corps were quickly driven back. The loss was devastating and our allies quickly crumbled. With betrayal of the Yodo and Su domains and the refusal of the Owari domain to become involved in any way with Shinsengumi was alone. Yeah, I'm gonna get that. Yeah, they're domains. I don't care. I don't care no more. With our allies gone and the enemies everywhere, we had no choice but to retreat to Osaka Castle.
ようやく着いたか。たく、こんなバカでかい城を建てやがって、作った人間の性格の良さが忍ばれるぜ。
Well, here we are. Damn, this place is big. What's the sense in building a place like this?
土方さん、とりあえず俺たち山崎のやつを良順先生に見せてくっから。
Hijikata, we're gonna go take Yamazaki to see Dr. Ryojin, okay?
ああ、
Sure.
頼む。
Sure, fine. Go ahead. Yamazaki had grown in pain all the way home, and I hoped he would be alright. I was also worried for Hijikata. Now that he was a Fury, being out in the sunlight had to be painful for him. Hijikata, are you feeling alright? I mean, physically?
なんだ。羅刹の俺がお日様のもとをうろうろしてるのがそんなに意外か。
What? Surprised to see a Fury out during the day? No, I mean, that's not what I was wondering if anything has changed. Even if I was directly at fault, he had become a Fury because the demon I had attracted.
今んとこどこも変わりねえな。
No, so far nothing.
そのうちお日様を見るのさえしんどくなってくるんだろうし、今のうちに目に焼き付けとくか。
Still, pretty soon it'll be probably really painful for me to even look at the sun. Might as well enjoy it while I can. Oh, no.
お前がどう考えてるかはわからねえが、落ち水を飲むって決めたのは他の誰でもねえ。この俺だ。
Oh, okay. I don't know what's going on in that head of yours, but only one person made the decision to drink that stuff. Me.
それに、今まで何人もの大使に切腹だの羅刹家だの命じといて、てめえだけ腹が据わってねってのもおかしな話だろ。
Besides, I've ordered plenty of men to cut themselves open or become Furies. Can't really bliss out when it's my turn, can I?
いつかこうなるんじゃねえかって気はしてたんだ。だから、お前のせいじゃねえ。
I had a feeling this would happen eventually. Don't blame yourself. It wasn't that easy, though. I couldn't just take him on his word and shut off the guilt I felt. When I looked up at him, though, his expression seemed somehow relieved. This is kind of a weird question, but did something good just happen?
ああ、もちろんだ。
Of course. He looked up at the castle walls and laughed.
決まってるじゃねえか。この城は絶対に落ちねえ。
Isn't it obvious? This castle will never fall.
ここにこもってる限り、俺たちの負けはねえってことだ。
As long as we stay here, we can't lose.
真田幸村でもできなかった戦をできるかもしれねえんだぜ。しかも、仲間の敵を討てるときた。
Maybe we'll do what Yukimura Sanada couldn't, and maybe we'll get some revenge. Oh, yeah, okay, I'm thinking the other Yukimura, I'm like, eh?
これが浮かれずにいられるかよ。
How could I not be excited? The man I had watched fight the demon Kazama was nowhere to be seen. Hijikata's face now was that of a man looking forward, determined to win. I smiled to myself. He hadn't given up hope.
副長、こちらにいらっしゃいましたか。
Commander, there you are.
どうした？
What's wrong?
これから江戸に引き上げるので、船に乗ってくださいとのことです。
We've been ordered to put to sea immediately. We're returning to Edo.
江戸に？どういうことだ？ここで薩長の連中を迎え撃つんじゃねえのか？
Edo? What do you mean? I thought we were going to stay here and give that rebel scum a little payback.
それが、
Well, he hesitated, and I sensed that it was out of reluctance, not confusion. When he spoke, he sounded as if he didn't quite believe what he was saying.
徳川慶喜公は船でもう江戸に向かってしまっているとのことです。ですので、これ以上ここにいても。
I've received word that Yoshinobu Tokugawa has already boarded a ship and is heading for Edo. There is little point in remaining here. okay? For a moment, Hijikata simply stood there, stunned. When he spoke, his voice was a sinister growl.
船で江戸に向かってるってのはどういう
What
こ
the
と
hell
だ
do you mean he's on a boat to Edo?
幕軍が命がけで戦ってたってのに。それを放り捨てててめえだけさっさとお逃げ遊ばしたってことか。
His army put their neck on the line for him and he's running away to save his own sorry ass?
それは俺にもよくわかりませんので。
Well, to be honest, I'm not really too sure myself. Shimada didn't look much more pleased with the situation than Hijikata. Damn it! Unable to contain his frustration, he kicked out the nearest tree. His eyes thinned and he kicked it several more times. At last he stopped, slightly out of breath, and tried to regain his earlier calm.
まあいいや。そもそも俺は最初から徳川の殿様のために戦ってきたわけじゃねえからな。
Fine. Not like we're fighting for Tokugawa himself in the first place.
いくら上にやる気がなかろうが俺たちには関係のねえことだ。
They don't have the balls for it. We don't need them.
伝習隊もいるし、幕府が海外から買った何隻もの軍艦だって無傷のまま残ってる。
Elite force training in Western tactics, okay? We've got the Denshu Company and a couple of those warships in the shogunate brought from the foreigners.
江戸に戻ったら喧嘩のやり直しだな。
When we get to Edo, we'll have to start this fight up again. Perhaps it was desperate exhilaration of having her back to the wall, but I saw the fire of determination light in Hijikata's eyes. That was how Shinsengumi and the last remnants of the old shogunate were forced to leave Osaka Castle and return to Edo. During the trip, Yamazaki's wound grew worse and eventually he passed away. Yamazaki himself had said that Hijikata was the head and the rest of Shinsengumi were his arms and legs. To me, it seemed that was truer than even Yamazaki had realized. His death was as painful to Hijikata as the loss of a real limb. Yamazaki was buried at sea in a ceremony presided over by the Taike Inamono, a one-time vassal of the shogunate who was bound for Edo on the same ship. Second in command of the shogunate navy. I don't know why I need to know that. But okay. Woo, we did it! Alright guys, we're gonna wrap it up there. And we'll continue on in chapter 5 later. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave some comments, like, and follow social links down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Kaze out.